Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Broads. Joel Embiid said it best last night. Now the season begins. All of us who were watching the Phillies nonstop and pouring our blood, sweat, and tears onto the diamond, it's now time to move to the hardwood floor to watch some charges, to watch some domination, and let's get back on track. Because let's be honest, it was a slow start. Now there's a lot of variables to why there was a slow start. Joel Embiid had the flu. James Harden is now nicked up a bit, and he needs a bit of time to recover. But also, it's hard, even when healthy, with new players, P.J. Tucker, DeAnthony Melton, Daniel House. It's hard to incorporate a lot of new faces, and then right from the beginning, from opening tip, expect dominance. So now that there's issues on top of just a lot of new people, well, to a degree, it makes a bit of sense. By the end of it, we'll see 50-plus wins, we'll see a postseason run, and the question becomes, can they get over the hump to get to the Eastern Conference Finals? That doesn't mean there's no value in these 82 regular season games. This is where we're going to learn about some of these guys. This is where we're going to have to see P.J. Tucker mesh into this a bit more. How we're going to have to find a way when James Harden does return to utilize what he does very well as a ball-dominant player, but also finding ways to get Maxey going in the open floor because he is very special with his speed. Now, he struggled big time. Arguably one of the worst outings I've seen out of Maxey against the Phoenix Suns, and it's just ridiculous to see. Like, what? He's human? What? I didn't think that he was, because it's outrageous to see how he dominates on the floor. I didn't know he could have a bad outing. But the fact that they were still able to respond with Georges Niang, 7 threes. That place was going nuts. Joel Embiid, 30-plus, and his defense. At one point, I'm watching him out by the perimeter defending Devin Booker, suffocating him. He had no time. He had no space. It's the big man. It's the 7'2" body frame staying with the shifty-ass offensive player. It's just absurd. And he's not even close to being 100% yet. Not just from the flu that he was battling, but also the offseason that he had too, when we started to learn some more information about what he went through and why his stamina may not have been up to speed and all of it. So just wait until things click. Just wait until we're about 30 games in and his body is used to running up and down the floor and defending at a high level and working on the offensive side at a high level. And even Tobias, too. I thought Tobias had a very strong game against Phoenix. Started off hot early. Shot clock's winding down. He puts it up for three. Nothing but the iron. I say that in a positive way. Like the net didn't move. The net didn't move at all. It wasn't a swoosh because that means it hits the net. That puppy was straight back iron and down. So he was good. And it was their best win of the season. I know they're 5-6, and you probably expected better. We'll get there. We'll get there. There's no reason to panic. In the NBA, just give it some time. Actually, the last time we checked in on the Sixers, I brought up the Boston Celtics because last season, after 50 games in an 82-year schedule, 82-game schedule, right? 50 games. They were 25-25. It's just about getting it all to click. And you have time to figure out how to make it click. And I'm sure there's some people listening right now going, Broads, not when Doc Rivers is your coach. I watched him play Harrell and Reed. I'm getting disgusted with some of the things I've seen. Am I looking at Doc Rivers with a harsher eye? Of course. You'd be a fool not to look at Doc Rivers. I think there are times where Doc Rivers doesn't do the best. Is he the reason? The number one reason why this team is going to fail, this and that? I'm already hearing that. It's 11 games in. Breathe. He only won one championship and he had a powerhouse team. What coach wins without a powerhouse team in the NBA Finals? Let me know. Eric Spoelstra? Budenholzer? What team doesn't win with insane talent? I'm not telling you Doc's going to lead this team to victory and it's an automatic NBA championship final run. I'm just saying. Yes, I'm looking at it. Yes. It's on my radar, yes. Doc Rivers has a circle around his name, absolutely. But 11 games in, while dealing with a bunch of circumstances of, I don't know, not having Joel Embiid, Harden missing some time, and even when some of these guys were on the floor, it wasn't great by any means. But judging game 4 like it's game 81 as you're edging into a postseason run or inching your way in. It's about who the team is. If this Phillies run told you anything, not that I want to live and die by miracle runs by any means, but the team that you are 5 months into the season is probably not the team that you are week 1, week 2, week 3. It's about the process of molding together. And while the Phoenix Suns lost CP3 in the game, and they weren't completely healthy, neither were the Sixers. Their primary ball handler wasn't there. So the CP3 thing is nothing to knock. The Suns made their push in the second half. You can hear the angst in the crowd at the Wells Fargo Center, and they held them off. They pushed them off. The lead kept creeping. Response Sixers. It's a game of runs. That stuff happens. Guys are going to hit their shots. You're going to miss yours for a little bit of time. But when the time is needed, will you have the answer? And Georges Niang let it rip, man. That dude was something else. Now, he was getting some damn clean looks. I don't know how you consistently, after 4, you think maybe, hey, this guy's got it tonight. We've all played pickup ball. Watch the shooter. Now, unfortunately, I'm not the one that's ever getting that type of focus, and nobody's screaming that towards me when I got the rock wide open from the perimeter, unfortunately. But when he hang, it's like bang, 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 bang. There's nothing better. Well, there's a lot better, but you know what I'm saying. There's nothing better than when Georges Niang is red hot, and it cuts to commercial break, and it's the slow-mo of him hopping and jumping up and down, screaming at home. It's actually pretty sick to see on the road, too, because the place is silent. But he helped you. Some nights you're going to need your role players to really step the hell up, because Maxey didn't have it. Free throws, oof. Speaking of free throws, though, Joel Embiid, 16 for 16 at the line. We're getting back to it. It's taking a bit of time, but we're getting back to the Joel Embiid. Just have some patience. I also wonder if because everyone was so intense for the Phillies, it's always hard when a new season begins. Because normally when that's the case, you're somewhere else in a different team's season. So if you're watching postseason baseball and you're living and dying with every pitch, when you then flip over to watch the Philadelphia 76ers, are you still in that mentality? Are you still in that same level of this is World Series baseball? So you're watching Game 6 like it's a World Series event. I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to be 100% honest, I'm having a difficult time emotionally connecting with the Sixers right now. The hardest I've had to start a year. Most fans say wait till December, and I'm normally one of them too. Like, I get it. December, Christmas time, that's when the NBA calendar really kicks off into gear and it becomes more of a hotter topic. But in years past, I dove into games 1 through 15 a little bit more. The difference is I didn't have a baseball team giving me what they gave me. So this is unique for me. I'm just keeping it 100. This is a different type of experience. So maybe that plays a role in my cautious approach. But even if it was just like any other season, it's 11 games in. Let's check back in at 25. Although we're going to be checking back in consistently at this rate. I'm just saying more, let's see where their record is at that time of the year. They have Atlanta on Thursday. They go to Atlanta on Thursday, and then Atlanta comes here for a Saturday tilt. So those are some upcoming opponents. But, yeah, all around, I thought that was very important to get that win. A confidence builder, nice win at home. It feels good. If you can build some momentum off of that, you go back into the locker room, you think about what the Suns did. The Suns gave you a run for your money. And they're a damn well coached team. And they're a team that knows how to win. The Suns on the road, down a bunch of points. For them to fight back, that's the norm. You better be able to weather the storm. You better expect it. They expected it. They stopped it when needed. And then they contributed on the offensive end. Even Niang, not only was it the offensive production, but you saw a bit on the defensive side underneath the basket getting a steal too. I'm not telling you it was all pretty and we should all be just glorious right now at this very second. I know that the Knicks, the game against the Knicks made people vomit. I get it. There's some tough spots in there. But let's see where they grow. What else? What was before the Knicks game? They're all starting to mesh together. The Knicks game, it was, the Wizards. The loss at home to the Wizards, 121-111. But they beat the Wizards before that. They had the win against the Bulls where Joel Embiid hits a big-time shot there towards the end with just a little bit of time to go. It's funny, everyone bitches and complains about Joel Embiid taking threes when he misses, but then they fail to mention, on the road against Toronto with a big shot in the postseason or against Chicago this season to help solidify a W. It's only brought up when it hurts you. It's never brought up when it helps you. Just cracks me up. There's so much hate for the big man's skill set for some reason. Put him on the low block. I only want to see him on the low block. I don't. I want to see him everywhere. I want to see him defend out by the perimeter. You know whose ass is on the bench because he can't defend a lick late in the game? Some guy named Jokic. No, he's nasty. He's a great player. I want to see my big man do everything. Everything. And we have a hungry one that wants to see that too. That's the beauty of it. I'm glad that he sits on my side. I'm glad that he sees it the way I see it. Because then we get the monster that is Joel Hans. Joel Hans. Right now, just looking at the standings, even though things are going to move a lot, Bucks are 9-1. The Cleveland Cavaliers are 8-2. Celtics are 7-3. The Hawks are 7-3 as well. A lot of this will start evening out. But that's kind of where the top of the Eastern Conference sits at this very moment. The Heat are 4-7. You know, so for everyone saying, let's see where the Heat end up. I'm sure y'all thought the Heat were going to be better. I haven't really followed much at all about what the Heat are doing, so I know zero storylines. Zero. I know literally zero of their storylines. But let's see. Because if you're going to be all upset that the Sixers are 5-6 after 11, the Heat are worse. Let's see where they end up. I know the Nets are worried, but Brandon Simmons is getting his ankles broken. He's getting picked on defensively now. I'm actually starting to get a little bit, I don't know, I'm starting to feel bad for the dude. Straight up. Now, he did it to himself. He didn't have to play the cards that he played to put him in this position and take a year off and play this style of tough balls, because that's what he did against the Sixers. He played the I have bigger balls than you card. But it's clear the dude's got zero confidence, whether he's airballing layups or, come on, Luka's torching him. Now, Luka's a phenomenal offensive player, and he'll make you look silly. But I couldn't tell you the last time I saw Ben break his ankles to that level. He's just shots. It's a tough look. He's got nothing upstairs. And if you ain't got confidence in this game, oof. It's amazing to think about the player he once was. When he had that arrogance, where he had that snarl, where he utilized the blowing the smoke out of the nose emoji. He played with that. That was the style of player he kind of played with. Downhill. They're a mess, that team. Well, besides, I don't know, just the guy that is stupid and tweeting out fake movie stuff and Kyrie Irving. Don't even get me started on that nonsense. So I guess we'll take some Anytime Hotline text messages here. And let me look at first, the stat line for Maxey. 4 for 18 in 40 minutes. 0 for 4 with 11 points. Just bizarre. Missed a couple free throws. 3 for 6 from the line. PJ Tucker's struggling a bit to kind of find him. But like I said, it takes time. It takes time. He had 2 field goal attempts. It's not going to be easy. And I like Anthony Melton. I know he missed a bunch of threes in this game. He went 1 for 6 from 3. But I do like Anthony Melton. I think Daniel House will eventually, once he returns and whatnot, I think he'll find that 3-point stroke, because at this point he is shooting, he is shooting 31% from 3. 31. His career is 36.5. So 36, 37-ish. He's shooting 31. I think we'll see that more as he gets used to the spacing. He gets used to the passes that he's going to see. All of that. It'll eventually work itself out. But he wasn't available yesterday. It's time to get back into the Sixers grind. I'm not over the Phillies yet. My heart is still broken, but maybe I need this. I need this almost to get my mind off of it. I need this to be my new focus level. Between this and the Flyers, getting back to some winter sports, getting back to that scene, while just, I don't know, throwing in an 8-0 football team while we're at it. All right, let's get to some Anytime text messages here. This is from Sam. What is the temperature check on Doc Rivers? Do you think he lasts the full year? If not, Sam Cassell, is it much of a change? The temperature check on Doc, I don't want to say it's lukewarm. Maybe it is lukewarm. Do I think he lasts the season? I do. Now, if they fail this year and they get to the second round, they lose in Game 7 again, you're probably not going to see him return. That's how I see it play now. If they get him to the Eastern Conference Finals and you could tell that, they're all on the same page and things look good, then yeah. Do I think he lasts the full year? I do. I think he lasts the full year, because by the end of this, I think the regular season will be what we find as a normal regular season at this point. I think it will fall in that category. I don't think it'll be a colossal failure where they're just piss poor in the regular season and they suck, and then you got to fire your head coach midseason. I don't think it'll be Joe Girardi. All right. There'll be aggravation towards Doc. There'll be some things that maybe you don't like when it comes to playing certain big men. But at least you saw Paul Reed early against the Suns, and you're like, hey, maybe there's something to the utilization of Paul Reed at times that will satisfy us. But there will be some upsetting times. I'm not going to run away from that. Some weird bench lineups, some weird rotations, strange minutes. It's all inevitable. But when you look at the big picture of the regular season, I think we'll get the norm. From there, it's will he succeed or fail in the postseason? And it might not even come down to him. If I'm going to be honest, there's a chance this team fails. It's not because of Doc, but you need to change the scenery. You got to do something new. I think that's very, very reasonable as an option. So, lukewarm just because he's been here for a couple of years and they've struggled to get to that Eastern Conference Final. So there's naturally going to be pressure on him to do the job. Do I think it's midseason? I don't think it's midseason. Is Sam Cassell going to be different if it is midseason? Look, with Rob Thompson and Joe Girardi, I thought that they were too close together because of their time in New York that it wouldn't change much. All right, it did. Big time. So I'm just going to use that logic and say, would it change much? At this point, I have to say yes, it would change a lot. Now, do I believe that Cassell and Doc are more hand in hand than Joe and Rob were? It feels that way. Maybe I'd be wrong. It feels that way. But I don't think Doc goes anywhere mid-season. Now, that could change. 30 games in, if I see something differently, well, then I'll tell you, like, hey, it went south. But I don't want that to happen. See, there's some that want them to do poor because that means Doc will go. I want them to win because I want them to win. Right? I don't want them to fail to move on from the coach. I want this to play out accordingly, and then from there, you make the moves you need to based off of what you see. But I prefer it to work. I prefer Doc to be the answer. Zachary texted in, why does Joel always look sluggish this time of the season? I don't know, because I think it doesn't matter what you do. Forget sports, forget basketball. Whatever it is. I always normally tie something like this together with an office job. But let's say you start an office job and you're doing spreadsheets and you take 5 months, 4 months off, 3 months off of doing your spreadsheets. And then you start again in October. So you go from October to May, and then you go from May or June, July, August, September. You don't touch spreadsheets at all. Then you get thrown right back into it in October. Now, guess what? The first couple of weeks in October, you're probably not as smooth as you are in January and February. You're probably not the same in that regard. Now, it's different because you're talking about physical attributes and running up and down the floor. It's not exactly the same as pushing buttons on a keyboard, but the sharpness of your brain might not be in check. You can move around a little bit different, a little bit smooth, bang, 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 your equations, equal sign, parentheses, whatever it is. You're getting your equation going. You're pushing all the buttons to crunch your numbers. Because you're just getting thrown right back into it. And you can't, as much as you work hard in the offseason, you lift, you do training camp, there's nothing like game feel. And you're playing with new people all the time. Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, TJ McConnell, Ben Simmons, James Harden. And you're a big man who does a lot more than just get on the block, but there is something to be said about him working from the block too. He does that also. When I talk about the full skill set, being on the block is part of it, so I still want him to do that too. But now James Harden is inbounding him the ball, compared to Ben Simmons doing it, compared to Shake Milton doing it, compared to Tyrese Maxey doing it. There's a lot of layers to this where new guys getting him the ball in spots, teams defending him a certain way. Maxey, not very polished as a passer, not very polished as a professional NBA point guard like a James Harden is. So if he sees a defense targeting Joel on a certain type of way, and he's in the does he feel comfortable getting him the ball? Is Embiid getting bothered because he's not getting as many touches as he wants because he thinks the ball should already be in his hands, but it's taking too long. The shot clock is expiring. Now he's throwing up a shot that doesn't look as smooth or feel as comfortable as he would like it to be if he got the ball 5 seconds earlier, but that's because he's playing with some new teammates and he's playing with the young kid who's growing a lot. Like, there's a lot of details to this all. It's just not as simple as Joel's not ready. But by the way, he had surgeries, multiple surgeries. He's even openly admitted that he's got to feel good again with his hands because defenders are all in his grill and he's close to the rim, he's close to the basket. He just had surgery on his hands. Like, that's a big deal. So how does he get that feel out process again? It takes time. We'll take one more text here from Tori. Help me. Is it okay to feel Harden and Maxey won't coexist? Sheesh. Is it okay to feel that way? I can't tell anybody how to feel. Do I think they can coexist? Yeah. Good players figure it out. These are damn good players. And I don't think that this is Russell Westbrook going to the bench with the Lakers. Like, oh, they can't do it. He's got to go to the bench. And he ended up thriving. I don't think it's to that level. And I think there's value in maybe allowing Maxey to run with the ball and kind of be that guy to have a whole new aggressiveness with what he does very well. So I think that there's times that he can excel with Harden on the bench. But you got to keep in mind there's a difference between regular season minutes and the rotation compared to how many minutes they're going to have to log in during the postseason. So I'm not saying that you can't utilize that method. Of course you can. But can they coexist? Yeah, I think they can coexist. Of course, yes. Yes. James Harden is a very, very good player with amazing passing. You're telling me there's no way to see that passing and think, whoa, hold on a second. Maxey can fly by you. Maxey can be filthy. Let's see what they can do together. There's no doubt. While getting Embiid going to, there's no doubt. All these teams that win championships, there's a lot of talent on the floor. Drew Holiday, Giannis, Chris Middleton. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent in these teams that are special and do it all. So I'm not saying it happens with the snap of your fingers. You got one polished pro and one hungry young kid with an insane ceiling that's going to be going through some growing pains. You got a coach that has some question marks around it. Can he push all the right buttons to make it like there's a way where they can coexist, but the coach maybe doesn't figure it out and doesn't put the players in the right positions to do it. If Maxey's just camping out and standing still, well, that's not something that I think makes him very valuable, which diminishes him, which is no fair. At times, I get that that's going to happen, but if I'm talking about my percentages, it can't happen a lot. Do I think they can coexist? Yes. Do I think it's okay to feel that they can? I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay. Because there's too much talent there. It's a journey. That's how you have to look at it. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. We're getting back on the Sixers train. I thank you guys for bearing with me. I know we're used to doing post-game shows every single night, but sometimes things change. And with the way the Phillies went, it changed. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one.